Hey, aloha. This is Jeff Reinebold, and it is back. It is live, and we are here with you on Coffee with Coach. And it is a big day in the National Football League and all around the football world because this is the day the final rosters are set, final cut downs. Obviously, a tough day for a lot of guys, and kind of an answer to a young kid's dream to a lot of other guys. So it's a real special day. Michael, get on in here and let's chop this up.
How's the form, Jeff? It's 9 days to go. Nine days until we're up all night watching Tom Brady play at 43, 44 years of age. How's it going?
I'll tell you what, it is going great. And I think we better start where everybody's focused right now. And that is on the fact that Cam Newton was released today by the New England Patriots. They have made the decision to go with Mac Jones and go with Mac Jones solely. I'm sure Cam's going to find a job somewhere, but certainly this is a shocker to a lot of people. I wouldn't describe it as a shocker to me, but I still think it's a surprise that they have gone all in on Mac Jones.
It's funny because I was actually complaining to a couple of friends because we have like Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, Adam Schefter, and retweets. So like we see the tweet when it comes on. Obviously, we've got you as well, Jeff, on the retweet machine. But I actually was texting a couple of friends going, this is getting too much. There's far too many tweets coming in. And then, hand to God, within about 30 seconds, Cam Newton and the Patriots, Cam Newton has been let go. I mean, if you actually look behind it, in terms of the whole situation with COVID in New England and the fact he has sat out, it does, I guess, from a business point of view, make sense. But, it's still a shocker. You have to ask. People talk about the preseason, Jeff, and talk about how people can play in the preseason. And, the Detroit Lions went 4-0 after, and then went 0-16. Is Mac Jones the answer, a quarterback?
Well, I think certainly the Belichick feels that way. I think, I think that entire coaching staff has got to be in agreement with it. I think it's interesting, obviously Mac Jones' skill set, Mac Jones' talent level, his makeup, his just the kind of quarterback he is much more in line with what New England would like to have. I thought New England did a great job last year. I thought Belichick maybe had his best coaching job last year. Getting 7 wins out of that football team, and you could see the liabilities. Now they went out and helped all around. They got a lot of good players in there now on offense. A lot of good players came back on defense. I think they'll be a force to be reckoned with. But again, you're talking about a rookie quarterback. Now, again, he's not been shy about, giving guys an opportunity to prove themselves. And, obviously when Bledsoe got hurt and, there's always a succession plan. And, this just, I think you made a good point. I think the time that Cam was out with COVID, those 5 days he was out with COVID, gave Mac Jones the opportunity that he needed to seize control of the football team, to take over the offense. I thought, the word out of New England was all the veterans were really, excited about how the way he ran the team, the way he took control, the way he got everybody lined up. Very, very sounds an awful lot like a guy that played there and wearing number 12 for a lot of years. So, can he be the second coming of Brady? We'll see, but it's going to be interesting.
I watched the first preseason game, and I think it was against the Eagles. I might be completely wrong. Mac Jones comes in the second quarter. I think he completes 5 for 5. The crowd was going off like a Super Bowl. It was hilarious. But look, it's interesting times. That really makes that division interesting as well. And it'll be interesting to see how many wins the Patriots can get and how quickly Mac Jones can flow with that offense. And also, I'm sure the fans will be, because they've had enough success and they've seen last year, how patient will the fans, because it might take some time, but it will reap the rewards. Look at like guys like Josh Allen, for example, after being given time. But Jeff, I was going to ask you while it's still in my head, Cam Newton, do you think he's playing anywhere or being a backup anywhere week 1, week 2 of the season?
Well, obviously the biggest thing with Cam Newton is can you afford to have him as a backup? No, he had a very cap friendly contract in New England. I'm sure if he still wants to play, there will be people who will try and get him on their roster because there just aren't enough quarterbacks. And you remember, this is a guy that was the MVP of the National Football League not very many years ago. And obviously it's, he's older, he's been beat up a little bit, but he still brings an awful lot to the table. So yes, I think he's going to get an opportunity to play for somebody somewhere down the road.
Yes, sir. We've got a couple of points here now. I've asked people, Jeff, to put their location on, so we'll take one or two, and then we've got the Irish Titans coming on. It's going to be a crack.
We're going to tighten up today, baby. We're going to tighten up.
David Crook has asked about any other surprises than Cam in the cuts. Did anything stand out to you today, Jeff, in terms of surprises?
Well, there were some guys that had been. I thought the trade between the Bengals and the Ravens was an interesting trade because Price had been a first-round draft choice as a center in Cincinnati, and here we are, I guess, 3 years later, and they trade him for a sixth-round pick, and really basically just unload him. I think it's a good pickup for the Ravens because obviously you can never have enough linemen, and if the kid has anything, he was a really well thought of player. He was obviously you don't get drafted in the first round unless people think he can play, and it was not just by the Bengals, but he had a pec injury, tore his pec, and then was not able to bounce back from that, and just struggled. I think that getting anything back for that is a positive for Cincinnati, and it's really a very, very low risk move for the Ravens. That one was a little bit surprising when you think where that guy was. But Brashad Perryman getting cut. Brashad Perryman wasn't very many years ago. People were really high on Brashad Perryman, and he's not in the National Football League now. There are a number of guys that went down. I really didn't get a chance, Mike, because we're involved in game plan. I really didn't get a chance to spend an awful lot of time looking at the waiver wire. But there's some, a couple of my players I'm hanging on, hoping that they're able to.
Live for the Chargers, Jeff. He was on the show during the summer. I can't pronounce his name, from Hawaii. Brendan Falco. He was cut, unfortunately, by the Chargers. I'm sure he'll end up somewhere, and he actually tweeted that his belief as well. I think he'll end up somewhere.
I think maybe, he might. See, he would have practice roster time, so he may go back on the practice roster. It'll be really interesting. These next 24 hours, the way it works, this next 24 hours, teams will cut. Sometimes they'll cut below the 53 number, and so that they can add back. Because when a player's cut, he immediately passes through the waiver system, so that other teams have an opportunity to pick him up. So guys like Braden are guys that are certainly have played well enough and good enough. Enough football in the league that it's hard to find big people. And I thought he had a really good exhibition game against Seattle. So I would not be surprised if he doesn't go somewhere else. He'll certainly be on that roster as a practice roster guy.
Yes, sir. We've got the biggest Titans group tonight in Europe and the UK, Brexit. Tonight, the Irish Titans, Jeff. Will we bring Sean of the Irish Titans, yeah?
Yep, bring them on, baby. Let's talk a little Titan football. Hey, Sean, how are you, man?
Hi, Michael. Good evening.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Now, this is interesting, man. You are a Nashville or a Tennessee Titan fan. How in the world did that happen? Where are the roots of your fandom?
That's the first question everybody has. There's actually two of us. We're two brothers. Owen, my brother, he's 8 years older than me, and Sean, I'm actually 20. I'm turning 21 next week. Basically started maybe 10 years ago. I visited to New York with the family. Visited the NFL shop. There was an NFL shop, and I think it was a pop-up shop in Times Square. Brother picked out the best looking jersey. Ended up picking out a Vince Young jersey for the Titans. And I suppose he hooked on to the Titans from then when he did a bit of research on who the team were and where they were and what they played, and didn't even really know much about the sport. So then I suppose 4 or 5 years later, I was old enough to understand what was going on in the game. I hooked onto it, and for the past 5 years we've been kind of basically like Nashville residents outside of America. We've never actually visited, but we did go see the team in London. We met the owner, Amy Adams. We met a good few of the team. We took to Facebook and Twitter to find people with interest in the team like us, because obviously Ireland, there's not many Titans fans. So we have to look outside, and we took to Twitter. There's a good community of Titans fans on Twitter and Facebook. So we grew more and more interested in the team, and here we are now, up at all hours, watching the Titans for 16 or 17 weeks of the season.
All right, I got to tell you now. I'm going to give you the name of a big Titans fan that you need to get on your side, because our producer at Sky, Alex Mason, is a huge Titans fan. I mean, a huge Titans fan. And, his story is he goes all the way back to the Lovey Blue days of the Houston Oilers, and followed them on their migration to Memphis first, and then on to Nashville, and is a huge Titans fan. So there's a tip for you. You better get Alex in your fold, because he's got a lot of juice, and maybe you'll see a few more Titan games on TV.
Hopefully. We noticed the difference. There has been more. We've noticed this.
Hey, now tell me something. As a Titan fan, and again, you got to speak with your head and your heart, not just with your heart. What's the outlook? What do you see, Sean, for your football team this season?
Positivity. We're all positive in Titan fan base at the moment. We have a stellar offense, a defense that struggled but is showing promising signs after being the number one defense in pre-season with second and third stringers. So once the starters get in there, I think the year could be looking good for us. I'm not going to say Super Bowl, because we don't want to be talking about that. There's 17 games to go first, but I'm feeling positive about the year.
Well, I'll tell you what, the other members of the tribe have spoken, because Barrelissimo, who's a member of the tribe and a huge Bears fan, just sent a tweet, and he said, Derrick Henry helps. And I'll tell you what, Derrick Henry does help. He is a full-grown man out of the backfield. Yeah. Julio Jones, how big an impact do you see Julio Jones having on your team?
The Titans, I felt like they were missing that number one guy. You know what I mean? A.J. Brown filled that role last year, but the Titans have never really had an outright number one wide receiver that people are really looking out for. And I feel like Julio mightn't have had the best last 2 years, but there is still a lot in him. He's looked good in practice for the last few days. He was out for a bit, but he's back. I think it is an absolute game changer. I mean, you have Julio on one side, AJ on the other side, Derrick Henry up the middle. Who do you target? I mean, do you target Derrick Henry and then the two lads on either side are belting down the field, or do you target the wide receivers and Derrick Henry just runs through the middle? I mean, I feel sorry for defensive coordinators for this season, because I'm a Titans fan, I can't even answer what people are going to do to us. So
I'll tell you what, it's interesting is that you bring up a good point, because certainly when you got a back of Henry's stature and his ability, you're going to see an awful lot of 8-man fronts. You're going to get an awful lot of single coverage outside. And, I still believe that, like you, that just even though he may have lost a step now at this point in his career, and with all the, the little ankle and foot and, lower body injuries he's had in the last few years, but you're talking about a very, very skilled route runner and a very big and physical receiver. So if you got small DBs, you're going to have a hard time matching up with the Titans. See, this is the thing that I think, Sean, that people, I don't know if they really understand or have talked about a great deal, but one of the things that I think Vrabel brought when he came in was the Titans have always had kind of a reputation as being a physical, hard-nosed, run the ball all the way back to the Jeff Fisher days. But I think what Vrabel has brought is an understanding that, you've got to run the ball and you've got to stop the run to win in the National Football League. Even in today's NFL, it still holds true. And, their attention to detail, their attention to fundamentals, their how well they run the ball against any fronts, because, they'll run into 8-man fronts and just keep pounding and pounding and pounding. And they look at a 4-yard play as a positive play, because if you get 3 of those, it's a first down and you hold the ball. And it's a little bit of an old school philosophy, but he learned it at the knee of Belichick. And I think that's really been successful for him. I'm curious to see how much is Arthur Smith's loss going to impact that offense.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, I think like the hiring process for the offensive coordinator kind of was trying to alleviate that. I mean, by the continuity as such, with the tight end coach for the last 2 years taking over. But I mean, it's never going to be the same, no matter how much continuity there is. I mean, a guy could be there for 10 years, but he's not going to think the same as the offensive coordinator leaves. So I mean, again, pre-season looked good, but you can't judge off that. I mean, some people are jumping the gun and saying, okay, this is just going to be the exact same as last year, but it's not. It's not going to be the exact same, because you're never going to have the same scheme one year to another from one person to another, because that's just not how human nature works. It's always going to be different. So I mean, was there issues last year with the offense? Absolutely there was. I mean, was it perfect? No way, not a chance. How could that be fixed this year with someone else? Yeah, but could it also go backwards? I mean, could we be terrible again this year, even though we did well okay in the preseason? Yes, that's possible. I mean, there's only one way to find out, I suppose, and that's to get on the field and see what happens.
What is the area of other? You mentioned the defense. Is there any other area of the football team in Tennessee that concerns you, that you say, well, I don't know if we're good enough here, or, you know, do we have enough pass rushers? Pass rushing has been the big, you know, they've gone out, they spent money trying to bring guys in free agency, and none of those guys have panned out. And if, you know, I think that may be the one area looking ahead. And again, have they got enough pass rush in your mind?
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I suppose the drafting of Harold Landry was the kind of the beginning of the overall. I mean, Bud Dupree is in there this year, Danico Autry, Jeffrey Simmons, of course. I think we'd be expecting Jeffrey Simmons to make a big impact this year. I mean, last year it was a step forward, but you can tell there's more in the guy. There's more that he can give. I mean, can Bud Dupree be at his best? I mean, Danico Autry, we know what he can do. It's just a matter of everybody coming together and, I suppose, being at their best, because with how bad the pass rush was last year, I mean, I argue we could have went further last year. I mean, I know we did okay, like that's the playoffs, but there were games we lost by 4 or 5 points where a sack in that situation could have won the game. I guess I don't know, to be honest. I mean, the names are there. The names are there.
Well, and you know, the names have been there in the past. Clowney's been there. I mean, they've had guys, but to me, it's Dupree's the key. If he can come back off that knee, because when he is healthy, or when he was healthy in Pittsburgh, he was a definite impact guy off the edge. And Berlismo just tweeted in, he said, Titans need to keep the edge healthy. They're good interior. I agree with that. I think you've got a good enough bunch of run stuffers inside that if your edge can find a way to get to the quarterback, you got a great chance. And speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk about your quarterback.
Yeah. Ryan Tannehill, currently on the COVID list, so hoping he's okay. Of course, the cuts today, we have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Matt Barkley as a backup and Logan Woodside. One of them will go, I presume, Matt Barkley. I think they'll keep Woodside when Tannehill's off the list. I mean, Tannehill's game changer, absolute game changer. I think he was. I'm not a big Adam Gase fan, and I think that Tannehill was in a terrible situation in Miami. He came to Tennessee and he's just flourished. I mean, the guy is unbelievable. He's everything. I know I'm a big Mariota fan. I love Marcus, big fan. I hope he does. I hope he gets a starting job someday again. But Tannehill is everything that Mariota wasn't. Every mistake that Mariota made, Tannehill doesn't make those mistakes. He mightn't be as mobile. He's not going to run 170 yards for a touchdown. He's not going to leap guys to get touchdowns. He's not going to throw the ball and catch it. But he's reliable. He has the arm. He has the brain. I mean, I think he's the guy. He is the guy. We need to stick by him. He has the weapons now. There's no excuse. So yeah, I mean, big season ahead for him as long as he stays healthy.
My question is, when's the guy going to get the respect that he deserves?
I mean, we can talk about Titans getting disrespect all day, I suppose. There's nothing new for that.
All right, now tell me about the club, your Titans organization, right? Irish Titans. Is it solely just for guys in Ireland? Or are you taking memberships from around? Or
we just, what we try to do is we don't take memberships. We're not joined together with anyone. We don't ask people to pay. We don't ask people to do anything. We just want people to interact with us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. We just want people to come on game days, have a chat with us, talk about the game, give their hot takes, give their opinions. I mean, we say that we do hot takes, no BS, with a sprinkling of Irish charm. So, I mean, we're not going to hold back. We're going to be honest. We want everybody else to be honest with us and come together and make some friends. I mean, we met people over in London when the Titans played that we met on Twitter and stuff. I mean, not just from Ireland. We have discovered a few more Titans fans in Ireland, though, so that's good. But I mean, we're just here to have fun, meet some people, and talk Titans football.
All right, now there are two things we're going to do today. One of them is I want to get your take on the division and what is the future this year for the Titans. Can they win the division, or are they going to go? Are they a wild card team, or how do you see that shaking out in that division?
I mean, I think I'm biased, obviously, but I don't see any competition for the Titans in our division this year. I mean, the Jaguars are the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence is a rookie quarterback. I don't think he's going to light the league up day one. I think he's going to take time. I mean, I can't trust the Jaguars to go every single week and dominate a game, because they're not like that. They're just not the organization that will do that. I mean, people walk over the Jaguars every day of the week. I mean, we don't like them. I don't think many other teams. I think many other teams do like playing them. The Colts, Carson Wentz can be hit or miss. I mean, he's already had an injury scare this year. I mean, I don't wish it on the guy, but chances are, I mean, I don't know if he's going to come out the other side healthy. We always know we're going to get a good game against the Colts, but last year we kind of had the upper hand on them a little bit. I feel like it's coming. We had a very, very long winless streak against the Colts. Like, hated playing the Colts, but it's happening. And I mean, the Texans, I don't even know where to start with the Texans. Where do you even start? I saw today they traded for a guy 3 days ago. I'm not sure what his name is. They cut him this morning. I mean, I'd be very surprised if the Texans get more than 4 wins this year. Very, very surprised.
All right. So you see yourself as division champions, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Can you make a deep playoff run?
If the defense shows up this year, I've no worries about the offense. I think we're going to be okay in offense. If the defense shows up this year, I can see it going very, very deep into the playoffs. All
right. Now, this is the thing we do with everybody that's a guest on the show, and we play a little word association game, right? And I'm going to throw a name at you, and you got to tell me right away what's the first things in one sentence. What's the first things that pop into your head? Okay, ready?
Yeah.
All right. Bud Adams.
History.
Vince Young.
Blocked us on Twitter.
Steve McNair.
Legend.
Frank Wycheck.
Another legend.
Let's go with Jeff Fisher.
Jeff Fisher, he loves using Twitter to talk about fishing.
You are killing me, man. All right, then I'll go with Derrick Henry.
Tractor. That's the word we always use to describe him, the tractor.
All right. Vrabel.
I wouldn't want to meet him during an alleyway. That's what I'd say.
I tell you what, that might be the most entertaining word association that we've ever played on this show. Sean, it's been a blast having you on the show and represent Irish Titans. Again, it's awesome having you part of the tribe and having you listen each week. And I hope your prediction comes true and your Titans win the division and make a long playoff push. I look forward to seeing you down the road. And again, stay tuned, and hopefully again one day we'll have a chance to share a Guinness or whatever it is, and
absolutely
talk a little football. All right, my man.
Thanks very much, Jeff. See you.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. All right. That was Sean from the Irish Titans. And I tell you what, you talk about a passionate Titans fan. That guy loves his football team. Kind of like you with those Denver Broncos.
Well, yeah. Sean's great. I have to say the Irish Titans on Twitter is great crack. So like, doesn't matter if it's from Ireland, UK, Europe, Timbuktu, North Korea. Follow the Irish Titans on Twitter. They're a very good account, especially whenever the Titans are playing as well. So,
you know what I thought was really cool about that, Mike, is that when Sean was talking, we had other members of the tribe coming in with questions, throwing their takes in. So, and that's cool. And again, fans, if you're listening live, go ahead and hit us up, and we'll chop up whatever you're thinking about here going forward. 9 days away from the NFL season, Michael. Has your perceptions of who the favorites are in the league changed at all through the preseason?
I really don't want to give away. I think next week we should do picks who we think will win it. But I'm quite high up on one team, and I'll talk about it next week. They may be in the city that is hosting the Super Bowl in February. And that's as much as I'm going to say. There hasn't been a team. Do you know what? Okay, fair enough. Not impressed with the Cowboys.
Not impressed with the Cowboys. You don't think the Cowboys' defense is going to be better?
I don't think it'll matter. I mean, will they get points up on the board? I don't know.
I mean, tell you what.
Do you think the Cowboys, Jeff, are going to go to Tampa Bay next Thursday night and win?
I'm not sure they're going to win next Thursday night in Tampa Bay, but I think the Cowboys have a chance to have a pretty good football team. They've got a lot of weapons on offense. I think the offensive line's better. It's healed up a little bit. I'm a Dak Prescott fan. I admit that. And defensively, I think Quinn has already shown that he's been able to improve that group. They don't have to be great. Again, this is not a great division that you're in. You just have to be a good football team, and you got a chance to win that division. I think that division is really going to be interesting because I think the Giants, Washington, and the Cowboys. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, they have loads of injuries. It
Always
seems to be imploding on the training field for a start. It just seems to be interesting. I'm just going to hedge my bets and say Washington for the NFC East. I have got something I have to ask you though, just while it's still in my head. Jeff, fantastic win for Hamilton last week.
Yes, it was. It was a great win. It was a great one. It was so amazing because we flew into Montreal on, I think it was, I don't know what day we played on, for Saturday, I guess. We flew in on Friday, and Neil flew in that very night, the night before the game, and or left and got in. And I had tickets for him. I had a full scholarship deal. He was going to be there as my guest, and he and George and all that. And he sat for 5.5 hours in immigration after flying, halfway around the planet. And they weren't able to come to the game, which really was disappointing because I wanted George to have an opportunity to come into the locker room, meet our players, and do all that kind of stuff. And I guess now, thinking back on it, he probably couldn't have because of the COVID protocols anyway, but it would have been nice to have him in the stadium. But they had to get to Ottawa because he had to report the next morning for his start of his college football career. But it was good to win. It was good to win on the road. It was good to win in the division. There's one of the things, coaches and players will tell you, to win on the road in your division is the sweetest win you can have, because those are what we call 4-point games, because you get 2 points for a win, right? And then they get 0 points for a loss. So that's the 2 you get and the 2 they don't get. So we consider it a 4-point win. And that was a big one. Big one.
Well, it seems as if you had George and Neil on the show, 5 minutes ago, but it's obviously great to see George get over to Canada. And the whole immigration thing, it's something that, if your airport doesn't have it locally, it's very difficult. Yeah, you have to wait for hours as well. So sorry to hear that. Can you tell me why? And this is an advertisement for you and your team. You guys are playing at 6 p.m. UK Ireland time on Monday. So I'm going to come in from work next Monday.
Hey,
what's going on there?
If you're a fan, this is the game you want to watch, because this is a rivalry that goes back 100 years, and it's us and I don't even use their name during the week we play them. Us and that team, which is up the QEW, which is the interstate, about 50 minutes from us. And so
Toronto.
Don't use that name on my show, gosh. I'm telling you, I don't even use their name during the week. As a matter of fact, I was just putting together a scouting report, and I just put at the top of it the team from up the QEW. I ain't using their name during this week. It's a bitter rivalry. And so they'll come in here, and we play at 1:00 on Labor Day, which is
Labor Day, okay.
holiday in Canada. And you guys will be able to see us at 6:00. It'll be crazy, absolutely crazy. I hope that that we'll get a full house, because this is a game. If it was pre-COVID times, this is a game you couldn't get a ticket for. Absolutely could not get a ticket for. They would bring in extra seats for this one. Now, because of the limitations and only vaccinated people can be in the stands, it's a little different. I don't know what our capacity is. I think the government is going to set a capacity limit for us. But regardless, it's going to be it wouldn't matter, Michael, playing these guys. It wouldn't matter if we played them in the parking lot. It's going to be as they say, a Donnybrook.
6 p.m. It's on BT Sport again. It's the Jeff effect. 6 p.m. coming in from work. I mean, my wife is going to hate me, but happy days. I've got a few questions here. Jay Danahy, who is in Mexico. I don't know if he recently moved to Mexico, but obviously, welcome, Jay. With Watson, this is a good one, because obviously Watson, no movement on Deshaun Watson today. Linked strongly once again with the Dolphins. Why would anyone take the huge gamble? And Jeff, there's rumors going around that teams like the Dolphins might be looking behind the scenes at get out clauses in terms of, if there is a criminal investigation in the future. If you were a GM, would you take the gamble?
Well, I think it's going to depend on what the price tag is, right? Because obviously, if you can access that player, and you're talking about an elite level quarterback, right? He's probably one of the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the league. If you can access that talented player and not have to give up, your future to do it. You're talking about that. There was one time there was talk about the Texans wanted 3 first-round draft choices. Well, that ain't happening, right? Because the reality of it is, the longer it goes, the more power the other teams have, and the less bargaining power the Texans have. They need to get rid of him. They need to get him off the books. They need all that. So if the price is not too steep, and you can get him to agree to restructure his contract with some out clauses in it, then I would say it'd be a great move for anybody, because, and I'm a big Tua fan, a huge Tua fan, but you cannot have enough good players, and you especially cannot have enough good players at that position. So, and I think it's going to happen. But right now, if you're the Texans, you're not in a power position, because with each day you get less and less power.
Yes, sir. Owen Thomas, who is in the UK, the coach and Hamilton are prime time, baby. Woo. I'm not going to give a big woo.
Owen, you know it, dog. We've been prime time forever. Woo!
You've been on BT Sport for 4 out of the last 5 weeks, and one of those weeks was a bye week. I know this is like, to be fair, Jeff, this is my first time properly following the CFL every week, but you've been on every week, and BT doesn't show every CFL game, so Hamilton must be a big deal over there. But yes, sir.
That's right. Hey, you know what? We're as a certain pro wrestler used to say, we're.
It's too late over here for this.
All right. Hey, Fred Flunk's got one. He says, Jeff, how do you as coach adjust your persona each and every preseason? I really don't. I just got to be me. And I think this is really important that people understand that in this business, players are so sophisticated today. So players are so smart today. If you aren't genuine, if you aren't who you are, then they'll see through you in 2 seconds. And so I think it's, young coaches, a lot of times Michael asked me that question about, who should I be like? And I said, be like yourself, because be the best of yourself you can be the best you can be. And just understand that the players, and this is really, I think, important, players will listen as long as they feel you are going to help them get another contract, get to the next paycheck, make the team, improve, all of that stuff. And you don't have to be friends with them, but you got to show them that you care about them and that, you can help them get better. Coach Vermeil said it really, really well. He said, players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And there's a lot of truth to that. So that's
a couple of questions, Jeff.
Go ahead.
We have a couple of questions just before we go. The first one is from Winners NFL in the UK.
All
Sorry,
right.
Just popped on. He apologized for being late. Chances of Cam ending at the Cowboys. I mean, Jeff, I think, I know he's not vaccinated, but I think he'll get a role somewhere.
I do. I think we, again, like we said at the start of the show, I think, you're looking around at the league and there's some, almost unknowns at backup quarterback. Now that doesn't mean they can't play. It just means that they're guys that are unproven, untested. Cam, from everything I've heard in New England, was a great teammate, was a great guy in the locker room, was all of that. And, he's going to come in at a bargain basement price, and you're going to get access to a talent that, while he may not be the MVP Cam that we remember from 4 or 5 years ago, he still is I think a very, very good football player. So I agree with you. I think he's going to land very soon.
Last one, and thanks everybody for asking questions. From Ireland, Darren McGuire. Hi, Jeff. Who do you think will win the Week 1 matchup between the Titans and the Cardinals? That's a hell of a game. Like, that'll probably be in Sky, yeah? That game. That's some game, Jeff.
Well, I don't know. Again, I don't know, but I tell you what, that does have the makings of a huge, huge game. Little concerned about the Titans because they've dealt with that COVID thing and, exactly where they're going to be in 9 days. You hope they're healthy. You hope the thing is over with and they can get on and play. But I certainly think that they're going to have a good football team. One thing I do know about that game, it is going to be a physical game because you're talking about 2 really physical teams. And, you got a magician at quarterback on one side and you got I don't even know what you describe. Sean from Irish Titans described him as a tractor in Derrick Henry at running back on the other side. I think that the Cardinals should win the game, but again, it's just going to come down to, I think, a couple things: how well Kyler Murray plays, and again, what we see out of that Arizona offense. Because I thought last year Arizona's offense was too inconsistent, and they've got enough players, and they should be a good football team.
Finally, is there going to be a Coffee with Coach Fantasy League? Come on, Mike, work the magic. Let's leave that with me. I tell you what, if Jeff Reinebold will exclusively announce the Sky games on here every Tuesday, we'll do it.
The pressure is on now. You've got people demanding your talents for fantasy football. Owen, I think that's a great ask. That is a great ask, and I think Michael should take that and run with it.
Well, it's a big week next week. Obviously, Sky's coverage is back. We've got Will Galvin coming on the show next Tuesday from Gridiron. We've got Alex Mason, who's the producer, Sky Sports, coming on live on Tuesday. NFL 32s on Sky Sports. Neil is coming on the Irish NFL show. He literally said that he needs to get more appearances than you, so he's coming on. So it's going to be a busy week next week, Jeff. I'm looking forward to it. I want to wish you luck on Labor Day against Toronto.
Well, now don't forget that our favorite German, or my favorite German anyway, has asked to come on the show. Sebastian Vollmer, 2-time Super Bowl winner with the Patriots, and 8-year NFL career, now doing television in Europe and in Germany. He did all of the Patriots preseason games this year, and he just wrote a new book called What It Takes, and he's going to come on and talk about his book and talk about what he's doing and what's going on with NFL Germany and all of that kind of stuff. So it'll be a blast having him back on the show.
Sounds like it's going to be a 2-hour special. I have no idea what time it's on at next week. We'll see what time Sky has stuff on as well, Jeff. But until then, I'll see you then.
All right, my brother. It's good talking to you, and to everybody at the Tribe. Thanks for tuning in. Great questions as always, and we will be talking about football big time next week as we go into the first week of the National Football League season.
Yes, sir. See you then.
Aloha.